good evening and welcome to the Ladies' Night. I really like that song. I really like that. It's just called Intro Backwoods Barbecue. And I like the tune and like it makes me feel like, we're going, you know, I don't know, maybe like down south somewhere to a really good barbecue and like, someone's like property back in the woods and they've got like the pig roast going. I've never been to one. And they've got
You've never been to a pig roast?
no, and they got like the cooler of beers and then there's like cornhole and like the whole like 9 yards, like, kind of thing. I think that would be a lot of fun. I couldn't tell you last time I was at a barbecue. Jeez. Wow.
Let's see, barbecue. Last month.
Ah, I keep saying I'm gonna have one because we have like the party lights strung up and all that, and it'd be kind of fun. And I don't know. It's already it's August 2nd now. Yesterday I was complaining it's August 1st. Now it's August 2nd. Like, whoa, stop, slow down. But although I love fall, so I'm kind of looking forward to fall too.
Yeah, fall's pretty good.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
hello. Sorry, I got
Hello.
completely off
I
track
just
there.
rambled a little bit. Hello.
This is
And I'm
Carrie,
so
and
used
this
to
is
it with
Jerry.
Snapchat, sorry.
Gee, I wonder why.
Because you just made me do it.
I'm sorry.
It's
I
okay.
didn't
I'll
make you do it.
forgive you.
Elias is making us do it. I had it before, and I did a Bitmoji before separately because the guidance counselor I work with did one, and I'm like, fine. And then and you had one, and I'm like, all right. And then I have Snapchat. Only I never post on it. I just use it for the filters because they're pretty good and they make me look less like scary.
Oh,
And
shut up.
and so I just like went online when Elias was talking about this stuff. And I saw my little Bitmoji guide. I'm like, oh, and I clicked on it, and I'm like, oh, I can change like pictures and stuff. And I just left it like that, and he was just able to pull it. So I guess I'm friends with him on Snapchat. I don't know. I don't do anything on Snapchat ever. Like I don't even do anything on Facebook anymore. Do you know what's really shitty? Is like the other night for some reason I was thinking about this one like friend that I from high school, and I'm like, gee, I haven't seen anything of hers on Facebook lately. Not that I've been on Facebook very much at all. I try to stay away from it. But I was like, huh. And then yesterday, I think like right after I was thinking about it, like the very next day, I was on and I saw like another friend from high school posted something, and I saw that she had posted something on his original comment. And so I clicked on her picture and it says add as friend. And I'm like, fuck you, you slimy bitch. So she apparently unfriended me. I'm pretty sure that she's one of those ones who don't tolerate political differences, but I don't even like you've seen my page. There were a few things I posted, but not a lot. Like I certainly didn't go crazy, and like I welcome all opinions, and like I'm like, all right, bitch, calm yourself, put your little panties back on, whatever. Just people like that just piss me off. Like we had I went down to Kevin and I went to Allentown on Saturday to meet my sister and her husband and my cousin and his wife for dinner. And we hadn't like seen my cousin since before the pandemic. So it was nice to get together for dinner. Now my cousin and his wife and my brother-in-law are definitely all Republicans, and I'm an independent, and so is Kevin. And we stayed away from politics the whole night until the very end when we were just talking about like, basically going back to school because you were asking me about that. And we started talking about like all the stuff that's been going on lately with the mask mandates and all that. And everyone stayed very civil. No one ever dipped their toe into anything. And I said, well, I'll tell you right now. And I said, I'm an independent and I'm sick and fucking tired of all. I didn't say fuck because my cousin and his wife are a little more religious. They're not like Bible bangers, but yeah, I was like, let me be nice. and, um, and I was just like, I'm sick and tired of this. It's like, at this point, like, let people roll the dice and whatever happens, happens. Like, like just like whatever. And they were all like, yes. And I was like, and even my sister too, who's a little bit more liberal than I am. And so we were all like, yeah, we're all tired of this. So it was nice. So I can get along with my family and I can get along with other people. But this dumb bitch is like, I don't know, got her nose bent out of shape. It was probably something I posted about like religion because that's probably got me more trouble than politics. That
I
was
stay,
my
I stay
rant.
away from all those stupid political stuff on Facebook. I don't talk, on Facebook. I don't talk about religion. I don't talk about politics. I don't talk about my personal life anymore
Right.
because Lord knows that went boom in my face too many times.
Ugh.
So
Yeah.
lately, all I do is like repost memories of past things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and usually I have my daughter because it's like I just I'm sorry, I see those old pictures and it's like, bam,
Yeah.
like she's not that little.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the other day, it was from her very first carnival where she just passed the sign that she can go on her very first ride.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
I'm like, oh my God, that was like so long
Oops.
ago.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute.
It
That's
was
cute.
only, I think, three, maybe four.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she was four. But I'm like, oh my God.
Well, that's understandable, and that's what Facebook used to be. It used to be people catching up and like, oh, I had 3 kids and a dog or whatever,
Yeah.
and they post pictures and oh, you remember that time back in high school, and then people would go and like find old photos and like post them, and
Yeah.
it was nice, and then it got nasty and dirty and just like, and I don't mean in a sexual way. I
I
mean
joined
in like
Facebook
shitty
in
way.
2008.
What's that?
I joined Facebook in
Mm-hmm.
2008. And that was basically because like I had nieces and stuff and
Right.
family that lived out of state. And that was how they got to know their cousin. And, like, oh, I got married, I got engaged, I had a kid. That's what we talked about. It was like your life.
Right.
But it was
Yeah.
like friendly stuff. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going in for surgery. Please pray for me.
Right,
If
right,
you
right.
go on Facebook and beg people to pray for you, then you don't have enough people in your social circle.
Yeah, exactly. I love the people who do that, and I'm just like, okay, and I just looked at like, so I was trying to figure out like, I don't even know where you look to see like when you joined because I don't remember, and I was scrolling down and I see like basic info, and I put, oh, but my religious views, it says only me. I put pagan just because I like to piss people off, but I mean it's like it doesn't, and nobody sees it, and nobody sees my political views. It says independent, but like, so what the hell twisted her panties in it? I'm curious now. I don't know. She's
I
not
don't know.
worth
It
it.
might have been that, one of your pictures looked like a witch or something and she wanted to burn you at the stake. Who
Could be
knows?
because she's another like very religious person. There's nothing wrong with being religious, but like, aren't you supposed to try to like save me? Like, but
Maybe you
yeah,
look into it beyond saving.
yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. At least
I
maybe
know
she
what it is.
represented it.
I know what it is. She found out you're friends with me.
Oh, that would do it. That
I
would
have
do
lost
it.
a lot of friends because they were friends with me. And a lot of friends have lost friends because they're friends with me. I'm not joking.
Oh, for God's sake, people are like ridiculous.
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm in the car club, and
Mm-hmm.
I've invited you, and you will join eventually. Our schedules will mesh.
Yes,
Well, this last Saturday we had two new members join.
I was down there on Saturday, but I was thinking about you guys. But that was when we were on our way to Allentown for dinner. I was thinking about you.
Aw, I
Hmm.
feel special now.
You should.
So anyway, we had this one guy who had a 2019 Challenger,
Mm.
and this other guy who had a 1968 Dart.
Oh,
God,
geez.
Dart. I blame the meds.
Yeah, there
Um,
you go. I blame the rosé, but okay.
so Taco Bell, where we have it,
Mm-hmm.
Taco Bell sponsor VOP. Hello. Um,
You're right.
I might talk to them about that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Hey,
fun fact. Sorry.
sponsor our show.
Yeah. So I signed both these people up. Taco Bell came out and they picked their winning car for the night,
Mm-hmm.
and they picked the Challenger. They made a big deal. They told me the number. They told me the car. I wrote down the number and the car, but I wrote down the wrong name.
Mm.
I put the other guy's name.
Gotcha.
Now, of course, in the car club, your car is what wins, not your
Right.
name.
Right.
Well, the announcement was done and there was confusion. Okay, did his car win or his car win? Like, who's who?
It was
So I
the
said,
car.
okay, I goofed. I wrote down the wrong name. It is the Challenger that was chosen.
Right. I'd be like, ah, crap. Okay. You know.
Yeah. Well, it turns out I run into another member. Now, this was Saturday night. I run into another member yesterday getting stuff at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells me, what do you think of this email from so-and-so?
Oh
What
no.
email? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you didn't get it? I'm like, I don't have any email from him. And I'm looking through my phone looking for this email, and it doesn't exist. Not in spam or anything. And the guy responded to a previous email that I had sent out saying that he's dissatisfied. He wants to dump the club because so-and-so won the trophy and they took it back from him.
What?
And he went on and on about this, that it's very cliquey and that there's, he doesn't think he wants to be part of the membership anymore.
Ugh.
And
Sayonara.
I'm like, yeah, my head, I'm saying, bye.
Right.
We got 3 new members yesterday to replace you. Bye.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking it was a clerical error.
Right.
The guy who thought won because he heard his name
Mm-hmm.
was like, I knew I didn't have a Challenger. That's why I was wondering why I heard my name and my wife
Mm-hmm.
is me up there. And the guy who did win was looking at me like, really? I won? Like, he didn't want to get the trophy. He was like, I just joined tonight, you know?
Right.
And I'm like, no, you really won. Taco Bell came out, they picked it. That's their car.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know whose car belongs to
Right.
who.
They just pick the one they
Totally,
like.
it's totally random. And the people were fine. No one said anything that night. So why send a nasty email the next day?
So who was it that sent the email? The new guy?
No,
Okay,
an
some
old
a
member,
current guy.
an old member that I don't even know what he looks like.
Hmm.
Like, I know the name, but I can't picture him. And I'm
Gotcha.
like, if you have a problem, address it at the event where
Yeah,
you can
right?
talk to the president, the vice president, the vice president, the treasurer, and the secretary all at one time. We were
Wow.
all there. Instead, he sends me and everyone, because it was a group email. So, you know, when you hit reply all, it goes to everybody. So he sent
Yeah.
the email to everyone.
Oh, brilliant. Another one of those great guys.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, that's something that I'm like, I need to address, but I'm not sure how to respond to it. So I'm going to talk to the powers that be that are over me and see what they want to do to address it. Like, do we just let it go or do I respond?
Wow. Like, I wouldn't respond. I wouldn't give a shit because it's like, that this person's clearly been out of shape about other things. It was just, I mean, the only thing that, you would worry about, I mean, you'd not worry about, but like the only thing that you were involved in was just like, oh, wrong name. That's not a big deal. This guy clearly has bigger issues than that. I don't think his issues with you at all. I wouldn't bother responding. I'd be like, whatever. Don't give people like that. They want to be begged to stay and I'd be like, oh, sorry to see you go. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like we're not going to beg you to stay. It's not like it's you're not like, is he like a major donor to the club? Does he do all kinds of crazy
Another
stuff?
person.
Well, then fuck
Another
that.
person. Just another car.
I'm sure you can find another car club. Goodbye.
I mean, I love all our members in certain ways. Some I don't love, some I rather see dead, but
Ooh, wow.
you know, but they'd rather see me that way too. So it's mutual. It's okay.
Right.
But I think the bigger problem with the email that's bothering me is that it was sent to every member who may or may not have been there Saturday night.
Gotcha. Except you.
And yeah, well, my name's on it. It says I'm
Oh.
supposed to have received it, but I don't have it.
Oh, okay.
So I had someone else email it to me, so I have it.
Okay.
But the situation is I can talk.
It's Monday.
The situation is that now there's people out there assuming that someone won and we took the trophy away and gave it to someone else. And that's not what happened.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like for people that weren't there, they wouldn't understand. So I'm like, do I explain it in an email and just send that out?
Well, first, so is this something like, so it's every time you guys meet, somebody gets the trophy?
Every week there is a kid's choice, which we pick a local kid or a kid in the member, one of the members' kids. They get a trophy. Then we have the sponsors pick, which is Taco Bell. And then we have the club pick, which means the person who won the week before picks the next week.
Gotcha. And then like they pass the trophy on or whatever.
Correct.
So
no, you keep the trophy.
Oh, okay. So this person who, got the trophy, quote, taken away, unquote, it didn't. This is what would have happened anyhow, no?
What happened basically is there was no trophy given to him and taken away. It was a misannouncement.
Wait, so I thought the guy that was complaining was the one.
The guy complaining had nothing to do with it.
But he was the one that had the
car. It wasn't his name. It was nothing.
Oh, and he's never won the trophy before. Is that it?
I don't know. I'd have to look.
Oh, so what the hell? Like, what kind of car does he have?
It's a blue Corvette.
So calm down, dude. Like, what are you talking about? It's, it wasn't like you lost to a gremlin. Like, come on. I mean, geez.
He didn't lose to a Ford. Come on.
He
did lose to a Dodge.
Yeah, right?
Dodge, I mean.
But I don't understand people.
It's one of those things where it makes me hate clubs, hate groups.
Yep.
Because there's always that one person that's got to get their panties in a wad and cause trouble. And it's like every year we seem to have more and more panty wadders joining. Jeez. And it's like, enough.
Yeah, no. How
You
many
know,
people are in your club?
this week we had 45 cars there.
Oh wow, that's cool. It,
Yeah.
it should be the fun, like, because you guys probably like put them all on display, right? And like you open up the hoods or whatever, and like other people can like wander through and see, right? Like, is that what you do?
What's great is at Taco Bell, we have them lying along two sides of the parking lot. And then we actually had to extend in front of the side. I can't talk.
You need more booze.
Yeah, we line up at the side of the building where the entrance is. So
Mm-hmm.
anyone coming in or driving past sees us. And they park their cars, back them in, pop the hoods, pop
Mm-hmm.
the trunk, whatever they want to show off. We had one car that had the wacky wing doors.
Oh, they're cool. Yeah.
So he takes two spots. He purposely
Right.
parks between two spots because of the doors,
Right.
but he likes to show them off.
Yeah, it's
We
cool.
don't
It probably
care.
opens them up, and yeah, that's
He
neat.
opens them up. He has the LEDs lit up. It. So whatever the people want to show off is what they show. This one guy, he wins a lot of awards, so he usually pops his trunk and he has all his awards lined up and sitting in his trunk.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
One guy has a hearse, so he actually pulls the casket out of the hearse.
Oh,
It has a skeleton with a black rose in it, and he has pictures from different events that he's done, and he puts that on an easel out front.
that's
Well,
cool.
like Halloween, we do trunk or treat,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll all decorate our cars, even my car, which is not a show car, people.
Yeah.
It's a classic, but it's not a
There
show
you
car.
go. It's a classic. I like that.
It's an antique. Uh,
Okay.
20 years old. Leave me alone.
Well, you should get
It's
the
still
you should get the
running.
classic car plate.
I should, but then I can't drive as much as I do.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, if you have classic car QQ plates, you can only drive so much a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I didn't know that. Oh.
Yep. Yep.
But I mean, the bottom line is that you're supposed to be there. You're supposed to have your car on display, let other people see it. And it's kind of fun, and and then you might get other ideas. Like I know people do all the crazy. Like we haven't done anything with our car. Like we just keep it very clean. um, but like
It's
we
better
haven't.
than some of our members, like me.
You should see the Jeep. But like I like like I know people do like the LED lights and they do like all kinds of cool like mods
Oh
and stuff like
yeah.
that. And so I mean that's cool. I mean that's the kind of thing that I'd like to see. Like, oh, that's a neat idea. Maybe I can try that. Not be like, oh, well, I don't ever win anything. Well, fuck you. It's not about winning. It's about like coming
Well,
together and having camaraderie and showing off your cars and talking to each other and like God, I hate people. I am definitely not a people-y person. Yes, I know I'm a teacher and I know I'm in New York City a lot of the time, but like I this just makes me hate people more. Like why? Why do you have to be like that? Like ugh.
yeah, because I mean, we try to make it fun every week. Taco Bell gives us a discount if you're a member of the club,
Oh, that's
which is
cool.
awesome. So
Mhm.
we all go in and at least get drinks or something. So that's
Right.
cool.
Yeah. And they make a
Um,
little money on the side extra and that's
yeah,
nice. Yeah.
and then it's like we have a music that we play. It's
Mhm.
taped stuff, but it's not taped. I shouldn't say taped. It's antique. It's a
Girl, you're
chungo.
showing was it 8 tracks? Come on now.
Hey, it is an antique car show. It might be.
Right?
But anyway,
Oh,
we
that's cool.
have
Probably like
music that
oldies or
goes.
something.
We play everything from the oldies to like the car hop stuff to like we don't do heavy metal because we
Mhm.
have a lot of older people that just
Do you
wouldn't
go
handle
do you
heavy.
go into the 80s?
We go 80s.
That's cool.
We mix it up. We also have like 5 little door prize things, put tickets in, might win. We do
Wow.
a 50-50.
That's
You know,
nice.
and yes, we have clicks, but it's like you have your Chevy guys, your Dodge guys, your Ford guys, and this is a really old car, so everyone's going to go around that car week,
Mhm.
or someone's going to go, something new on that car, or hey, I dropped the muffler on the way here. Can you guys help me out? Put it back on.
Right. Right.
And it mixes, and we mingle, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be lighthearted, and that's what we try to do.
And then you get douche tickets like this guy.
Exactly. But hey, everything's got to have a douche somewhere.
Yeah,
Got to feel
apparently.
fresh.
Yeah, right. Jeez.
Go
It
take
just
a stroll in the meadow with your mom.
yeah, right. Exactly. That's the kind of guy that would be doing that,
I'm sorry, but those commercials used to crack me up. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna row out into the middle of the lake with my mom in a canoe and say, "Do you ever not feel so fresh?" Which, first of all, I don't think I ever went to my mom and said, "Mom, I'm feeling a little skanky down there. Can you help me
Yeah,
out?"
I never did that either. My mom would never have gotten in a boat that small.
Mine either, unless she could stand in the water.
Right, right. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
but like you're on a picnic, all of a sudden you're gonna pull Bastille out of your picnic basket. Hello.
Yeah. Okay. And now I'm gonna go take this behind a tree? Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Should I put it on my dressing? It is vinegar and water.
Yeah, there you go. Right? Oh my gosh. Is it white wine vinegar?
Wow, we took a turn.
Yeah, we did. That was a real fast one. Well, you're the one that brought up the rowing with mom into the lake. I mean, in the middle of
Well,
the
you called him
field
a
or
douche. You started it.
sorry. That's my normal thing, douche ticket. I don't know. Like I'm a product of the 80s. I call everything a douche.
Oh my god.
Oh, although
I
Lucifer
call
called him
everybody a
Detective
stunod.
Douche. What's that?
I call everybody a stunod.
Stunad. Oh, Stunad. Like it's
No, not
Italian.
stunado.
Oh,
It's stunod. Just plain up stunod.
Stunad. You know you're
Yes.
bastardizing Italian there, right? Brooklyn Italian.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry for all the Italians out there, but us Jersey girls from Patterson, that's what we used to call people,
Gotcha.
stunod.
Yeah.
Because you're not dumb, but you're not stupid. You're a stunod.
A Stunad. My ex-boyfriend is rolling in his grave right now at that pronunciation. And so although then my husband like yells at me because like so when I was with Johnny and we lived in Brooklyn, he is from Brooklyn, born and bred, and like I mean his name was Giovanni Cianella, so okay.
Yeah.
And so so like he would tell me like, oh, because I was like, oh, I'll get the whatever with mozzarella, and he's like, it's mozzarella, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, and it's like you drop all the vowels, and I said that to Kevin, and he's like, no, that's just the Brooklyn Italians, you don't do that. I'm like, all right, don't talk to me, I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, there were certain words I didn't say at my one friend's house because they were like Italian right off the boat Italian.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
know,
just
you don't
Americanize it. It's
dare,
better.
you
Just
don't dare call it sauce.
oh no, it's gravy.
It's gravy.
Yep.
I walked in and they said, "Do you want gravy on your pasta?" I'm like, "Gravy
What?
on my pasta? I
Right,
put
because you
gravy
think
on my
brown,
meatloaf."
right? Yeah, brown gravy, right? Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh my god!" And all this like, "Oh, cross of the the crossing." Like, oh, so sorry.
Yeah.
I've learned I cannot go into any religious houses.
Why is that? Because
Okay, so
you
I did that
invariably
at the
say
Catholic
something.
house. I did that at the Catholic house, okay, and I
Mhm.
got crossed 700 times. Never did that again. Then I went to this one's funny. My brother married a Jewish woman.
Mhm.
Not a big deal. And her mom was studying to be a rabbi,
Oh wow.
which I didn't know women could be rabbis, but hey,
Well, they can't be
so be it.
priests, so good for them.
So be it. But the funny thing was, I went with my brother to pick up his. Well, they were dating at the time. So
Uh-huh.
anyway, so I went with my brother to pick up his girlfriend, fiance, wife, whatever she was at the time. Her mom's doing the blessing over the candles and everything for the Shabbat.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I didn't know what it was. I've been around a lot of Jewish people, but not really Jewish, like where they do this Shabbat and the
Mhm.
blessings and everything.
Right.
And she was saying the blessing, and I honestly believed she sneezed. And I said, God bless you.
Oh, it was one of the Jewish like or whatever.
Yeah.
I
And
got
I'm
you.
like, she turned around. If looks could kill, I was ashes at that moment. And my brother and his woman just happened to be coming down the stairs at the same time. And my brother, is trying not to laugh. He is trying so hard. He had to walk straight out the front door because he just couldn't handle it. I'm looking like, what I do wrong?
Right.
And Teresa's sitting there going, Cherry, you don't do that. That's a blessing. I was like, well, no one told me. So, yeah, I can't go into Jewish homes. I can't go into Catholic homes. 7-Day Adventist would have a field day with me.
Oh, geez.
And Pentecostal, I'd probably have demons jumping out at me.
Gotcha.
So I'm staying away from all people with religious homes.
Good girl. I will toast to that. Let me see if I can clink this. There we go.
I wear my cross with pride, but that's because it's from my mommy and daddy.
Hmm.
So.
Well, I don't know if I told you, so I want to know your take on this. This is interesting. So neither one of us are very religious, at least not Christian religion,
Once
right?
upon a time I was, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was a church organist from the time I was like 14 to the time I was like 33. Um,
I went to 7 church groups in 1 week, and I ran 3 of the
there you
teams.
go. There you go. So been there, done that.
Been there, done
Um,
that.
so the 4th of July picnic in our community, we went with our neighbors and we're sitting down at the table and friends of theirs came over and I guess these people used to live in the community and so they were invited over and this guy sits down. Got to describe him.
Oh, no.
So the wife sits down and she's dressed very nice, especially for a picnic. I'm like, okay, but whatever. But she was very nice and she had like she had the cross on like in her jewelry, but her makeup's all done. She got the long nails and she's like chilling and chatting and like having a hard seltzer from my neighbor's friend over across whatever. And he sits down and he's got like the sleeveless t-shirt and on it is I can't hear you over the sound of my freedom. And I'm like, oh my God. He sits down right next
Oh,
to
no.
cowboy hat, like the whole 9 yards. And so he's talking, he's like introduces himself and his name is Kevin. I'm like, oh, okay, this is easy to remember. And so he's talking and then he starts every once in a while, he's like, well, the Lord did this for me. And I'm like, oh man. And I come to find out
Oh,
he's an internet ordained minister. And I'm like, okay.
there's a lot
And
of those in this world.
yeah, yeah. And so he started talking. He said he does like a YouTube channel or something like whatever. And so, he's talking and then I'm just like I'm trying to just like, be nice and drink my wine so that I don't care. But then he said something about I don't know, about Mary Magdalene. And for anybody out there who is even less religious than me, which is kind of a stretch, but and again, I learned this mostly from osmosis because I'd sit in the services after I was done playing organ, and during the sermon, I'd be reading a book, or when I was older, grading papers. I never paid attention, but you did a 3-point chart, so I played at 3 different churches and with the same minister, the same sermon. It sinks in a little bit. So for those who may not know, Mary Magdalene was technically the prostitute, right? The one that washed Jesus's feet with her hair and all that, And if you ever saw Jesus Christ Superstar, she was in love with him. And anyhow, if you watch the Da Vinci Code, there's this whole thing about like she was actually like the Holy Grail because she was actually pregnant with Jesus's baby. Oh, like you can go all crazy, right? Well, this guy was like he said something about her and something about like Jesus's wife and I'm like, wait, what? And so like I started like I said, what are you talking about? And like he just did this whole thing, this whole version of Christianity that seemed to me to come from the Da Vinci Code, um, but like was all about how the women were incredibly important and and he's like, I mean, Mary, yeah, she was important too, but like, he had brothers, right? Like she didn't stay a virgin the rest of her life. She laid with, Joseph, like he has brothers and he's like, at the Last Supper, Mary Magdalene was there and he's talking about how they're the one, and I'm like, what? My mind was like blown. I'm like, here's this like rednecky kind of ex-military guy and all of a sudden he's talking about how important the women are in the Bible and I'm like, what? So I will tell you that had my experience with Christianity actually like included, because I said to him, I'm like, this is what I hate about Christianity. I said, and I'm not like an anti-Christian. I said, I was born Protestant. I was raised as a Presbyterian and I wound up being a Methodist church organist. I said, but like it bothered me because in everything in nature, right? And like, and one of the things that like, a lot of Christians, let me not group everybody, that some Christians are very adamant about, you have to have a yin and a yang, basically, right? Man and woman, right? Male and female, and I'm like, so like everything not everything, but a good deal of nature is based on male and female, right? Like that's, you have procreation, so that's like you have more bunnies that way, you have more deer that way, and all that. But the thing that bothered me the most in a lot of like the older religions, right? Like, even if you want to go back to like mythology, like Greek and Roman mythology, if you go to Celtic mythology, you talk about some of the Confucianism, which is more of a philosophy, but still like all those things, woman was like equal to man. maybe not in like things like strength and stuff like that, but like in like her importance, right? You always have the goddess, right? You have the god and the goddess. You have like, and Christianity was like, get rid of women. Like, the only thing they're good for is to get a teenager knocked up. I don't think she was a teenager. I think she was 12 or 13. Mary, knock her up with the Holy Spirit. Oh, that's great. And the other most important female in the Bible next to her was like the fucking prostitute. Like, what? So like I was like, so he's like, oh, anybody who is who says that they don't see this in the Bible is just kidding themselves. And he started like quoting passages and like making it sound like much more female oriented than I had ever heard them like presented. So I feel like if Christianity had been presented to me more like that, I might have been much more interested in it. Because one of the things that has always turned me off, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a daddy's girl. Like my dad was like that. I mean, he was the apple of my eye and vice versa. And so like the idea of like a father, right? God being a father and like, watching over you and like, giving, that, all encompassing like, fatherly love was great. But I was like, well, where's mom? So I don't know. What do you think, Jerry? Like, I don't know. Like, this is something I've never really asked you about, like with your religion and your ideas and stuff like that. But like to me, that's what originally kind of burnt me on Christianity. That there was so little place for women, and it always seemed like, except for Mary of Nazareth, I guess. I don't even know if that's the right term. The Virgin Mary. Sorry, sorry. But like, except for
Yeah,
the
the
Virgin.
virgin who had a baby. Go
Right,
figure.
yeah. So except for the Virgin Mary, it seems like almost every woman was either a prostitute, a harlot, like some kind of like terrible sinning thing, or like, wasn't Sarah was like in her 80s and she like gave birth. I'm like, oh, that poor woman. It's just like, holy crap. So like, yeah. So like, what is your take on that? I like this guy's version. I was like, I like to pick his mind a little bit more. I'm curious, but
As far as like the women role and the men's role and all that, it most let's see if I can explain this. Growing up, most of the churches I went
right,
to
because your dad was a,
had
a minister, right?
Pentecostal.
Right.
Nothing more weird than that. Um, woo!
Woo woo.
The things I saw in that church, I'm
Bible
so
banger.
glad to tell about it. Um, I see that there were a lot of male preachers
Mm-hmm.
or pastors or ministers.
Right.
A lot of the men of the cloth. They
Yeah.
always used to call it the man of the cloth.
Yep.
And so I think in a lot of ways they saw the Bible from the male perspective.
Right.
And from
Well,
the male
male wrote it.
perspective,
Mostly men.
so so the male perspective in most cases is that the male is superior
Mm-hmm.
in the Bible.
Right.
Man, I wish my dad was alive for this one because he would nail this out of the park, but I'm going to try and get it how he used to explain it.
Okay.
He saw religion as a way of identifying with God
Mm-hmm.
any way that you see fit.
Mm-hmm.
To him, you did not have to belong to a church and give church money to be religious.
Mm-hmm.
He did not believe that you had to go to church every Sunday and worship in a house of God.
Mm-hmm.
He was taught, and he taught me, that religion is in your own soul, in your own way of belief, and in your own way of communicating with God.
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe there's a God? I do. I will say, because how else did this all come about?
Mm-hmm.
It had to start somewhere.
Right.
Um, is it male, female, he, she? I really don't look at God as a person.
Right. Yeah.
I look at him as
Agreed.
an entity.
Right.
He's there. It's a spiritual thing. No one has ever seen God and come back to say, "Hey, I've been there, done that. I know the dude.
Right.
Get beer."
Right.
The other thing, getting back to like the women and stuff, he would flat out tell you that anyone can preach from a Bible
Mm-hmm.
and get you to believe their story because they can back it up by Psalms and different parts of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Anything in this world is actually in the Bible. There is gay, there is transgender, there is sex, there are whores, there is adultery, there is stealing.
Mhm.
It's all in how you read the verses,
Mhm.
how you interpret them, and how they are presented. Because for every good, there is an evil.
Mhm.
In the Bible, every bad has a good.
Mhm. Yin and
So
yang, yeah.
everything the male does, the female does. So it again, this guy wanted you to believe his point, and that's great that he
Mhm.
knew all these passages and he knew how to explain it, that you accepted it and you were like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And that's great. And that's what, to me, preaching it and speaking the gospel is.
Mhm.
It's stating and trying to get someone's attention and maybe a belief in something,
Mhm.
whether it's just part of it or the whole religious part of it.
Mhm.
Um, so for me personally, um, I was raised a lot of male ministers,
Mhm.
but me and my husband were married by a female minister in
Oh,
my family's church.
Philip and me too. Huh.
And I can honestly say, this woman pastor, I would not go and listen to her on a
Oh.
weekly basis.
Oh, wow.
I would not. Um, she read a passage during our wedding that really kind of shook me, and I was like, this is so weird. There was a verse that I heard at another wedding from the book of Solomon.
Mhm.
Solomon was a hoe. He had many wives. He like just went through wives like underwear.
Okay.
Right. Most of them he killed, if I remember correctly. So anyway, but this passage was about loving and accepting each other.
Mhm. Probably one of the stock passages they read at weddings. Huh.
Right. But it hit me.
Mhm.
And I was like, I want that at my wedding because someone wanted to do a reading.
Okay.
And I was like, you want to do it? Fine. Go for it.
Right.
She goes, okay, I really like that one too. Can I do it? I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Like, I care, you know?
Right.
I did it more or less because I was in a church and she wanted to do something. So during the service, though, they read the past passage, and the minister comes back and she starts with the service over. She goes, Solomon had many wives. And I looked at her as if to say, what the heck are you trying to say? He's going to have more than one of me?
Right.
Or is it because I've been married before?
Oh.
So I'm like, it didn't, once she said that, I didn't hear anything else she said. I'm the type, I will listen to you preach until you say something that I don't agree with.
Right. And then you tune out. I agree.
The church, I live across the street from a church. Yes, I do. And a cemetery. So I have the good and the bad evils over there. So no
Right.
wonder I needed to burn sage and put crystals in my house.
There you go, girlfriend. Especially
Um,
the cemetery. Eek.
oh, they don't bother me. They're very quiet.
That's what my mom always said, but I was like, I still don't know about that.
It's actually kind of cool. It's a very old cemetery, actually. Some of the tombstones are very old.
Oh, that's cool. I think I might like wander into that and like try to take care, like the ones who are never like nobody ever goes to anymore. I think I'd probably feel like, oh, let me do something.
Well, it's pretty cool. Like for holidays and stuff, they put wreaths and flags and stuff on some of
Ah,
the graves and stuff. So,
right.
but let me tell you though, talk about freaky.
Mm-hmm.
I have actually gone to a funeral in my pajamas.
What?
I went to a funeral in my pajamas.
What? How did this come about?
I live across the street from a cemetery.
Right.
I was sitting on my couch, minding my own business, watching Golden Girls, drinking my tea, and I look across the street, and
Tea,
it's
air
about
quotes.
9 o'clock. It was 9 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay,
It was
maybe it
a
really
cup of
was tea.
tea. It was. I look out my window and I see like backhoe and construction stuff over in the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, this is an old cemetery. Not a lot of new people dying to get in there, you know?
Right, right.
So I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're putting an addition onto the church because it's only a one-room church. It's so cute.
Aw.
And I'm like, maybe they're adding on to it. Didn't think anything of it. All of a sudden, like noon, I'm hearing a lot of car doors. And I look out my other window in my living room, again, still in my pajamas because it was a lazy day.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a hearse and the flower car right behind the hearse. And I'm like, what the heck? Okay, well, maybe they're having a service in the church.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no problem. Next thing I know, there's a whole bunch of people in the cemetery. I went to a funeral in my pajamas. It was the creepiest feeling in the world to watch and not be part of.
Right, right. Kind
I've
of like a
gone to many,
voyeur.
I've gone to a lot of funerals, sad to say, in my
Mm.
life. I've gone to a lot of graveside funerals.
Mm-hmm.
Never in my pajamas before. And I felt kind of bad because my pajamas had like martini glasses all over it.
Maybe the person who died would appreciate that.
Well, the funny thing is, I was sitting on my couch and I'm watching this. I turned the TV off, everything, and I'm sitting there watching. Kind of creepy, I know. But I'm watching and I'm thinking, this person could have been alive yesterday.
Yeah.
What were they doing yesterday? And then I'm like, now they're dead. And I sat all day contemplating. You are literally here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah. That's pretty deep.
And I was like freaked out by it. Like totally freaked out. I was like, and keep in mind, this is after I've already lost my mom, my dad, and many
Right.
other people. And I'm sitting there going, wow, this is creepy watching someone get laid in the ground right across the street from my house.
Right. Right.
I was like, I hope that soul already left.
Yeah.
Like, don't pass through my house. Just go.
Well, that and see that's one of the things I would be like nervous about being across or close to a cemetery. Like just like, all right, so time for complete candor here.
Oh, no. This conversation is so different than our normal.
Right? But it's cool, right? So I love those like ghost hunting shows. Like I love Taps. That was my favorite. Actually, before Taps, there was a show called Most Haunted, and it took place in it's
In the
Monday.
med.
Yep. It took place in England or in the UK somewhere. And so, I mean, like those shows, like I was just like, I was always watching them. Like I just was like entranced and I don't know, part of me just, I love like the old history and like the idea of like something being haunted or whatever. And so, actually for one of my birthdays, of all things, Kevin and I went on my birthday to Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. And like we were walking through the cemetery and taking pictures and like it was like, I know that sounds really like morbid. We actually went there on a Halloween walk too, of a ghost tour of the cemetery at night. That was pretty cool too. But I don't know. And the same thing with like we went to Gettysburg and we were in the battlefield and we went to like the area that's supposedly like near Devil's Den that's supposedly the most haunted. And like I walked through the area and then we were gonna come back at night and I told Kevin, I'm like, we were at a campground. He's like, are you ready to go? And I'm like, no. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm afraid. Like big freaking wussy bitch here, but like that's just it. It's like if I lived that close to a cemetery, like I don't know, like I would feel like I would never be able to take the dogs out at night. I know it sounds stupid and silly, but like ever since I was a little girl, I've always been like really, really, really like I don't know, like entranced with the idea of like ghosts and stuff. Probably because I was like the house that I grew up in, like as a little kid until I was like 11 or 12 when we moved, but we lived in a 200-year-old stone farmhouse in Bucks County.
Oh, that was
Um,
good.
oh yeah, and it was, and you want to add to that, we had a whole bunch of Indian artifacts on our property because there was literally an Indian burial ground on our property. Like
Oh, girl.
yeah, my dad and my mom owned like, I don't know, it was like 15 acres. And so there was a lot of, like it was like back deep in the woods. And actually my cousin's college anthropology class came and tried to do like a dig, but they came across this like giant rock and they couldn't get any farther. But like you could find arrowheads, and we had these two stones up by the barn that had been worn smooth, like in the middle, like it would hold, like I guess they were using it to like grind corn and stuff. So, like we had like real stuff there. So like, and I used to have the worst nightmares in that house as a little kid. Like I just we had knotty pine paneling in the house. And anyone who's not familiar with knotty pine paneling, it's literally because the pine has a lot of knots, right? Called come from like all the like the branches that come off of it, and these knots all looked like a bunch of eyes and faces to me. And
Oh, freaky.
yeah, and there was one in the dining room that it just was like a monster to me. Like and I used to have nightmares about it. And like we had the basement, our basement, holy shit. It was an unfinished basement with like a dirt floor. Like this was an old fucking house. so like I mean like I grew up with this, and I think that's probably what like kind of like affected me. And just like, so I've always been very interested in like the supernatural stuff, but, and full disclosure here, I'm an adult woman. And since we bought the house, I have not watched a single episode of any of those ghost hunter shows because I'm like, I can't do that because if I'm here by myself, I'm going to lose my mind. God, I'm so stupid. Oh, but I've always found that stuff so interesting.
See, now I could spin that a different way.
Okay.
My mom always had a Ouija board.
Oh, Ouija
We've
boards.
always had a Ouija. I grew up with a Ouija board.
How does your mom have a Ouija board and your dad was so religious? That's an interesting thing.
Okay, well, first of all, my father was not very religious.
Okay.
He left when I was 4.
Right.
My dad was
the
a drunk
minister
when my mom first met him.
Right. Okay.
And for 5 years, he was a drunk. Once he put the cork in the bottle, that's when he went back to being a minister, a preacher.
Gotcha.
So there was a time frame.
Okay.
He just accepted my mom as being different.
I
know,
like that. Different.
He wasn't a Bible thumper.
Gotcha.
He really wasn't, unless it was like he had to get a point across.
Got you.
Like growing up, he didn't say, "You're gonna burn in hell for wearing a skirt that short." No.
Gotcha.
He would just tell me, if it ain't for sale, don't put a sign on it. Go put a real skirt on.
I like that.
So anyway, so my mom had a Ouija board when I was growing up. When I got married, I inherited the Ouija board because they moved, and my mom said, "I don't want to take this with me here," so I got a Ouija board. That's how one guy found out I had a crush on him. But anyway, so to me, spirits don't bother me. I think because my mom said, we're doing the Ouija board, and I always she kind of made it seem like it was a joke, but not a joke. She never really let us get too into it. Right. I guess you would say. Serious, that's more of a word for it.
Right.
But like, we lived in a 2-family house. Wasn't an old house. I don't know how old it was, but we had Fred. Fred was our ghost. We named him Fred. Because you could be sitting in the kitchen and all of a sudden something would fall off of the shelf in the closet. The garbage would knock over. No wind, no dogs, nothing near it, and the garbage would just dump over. So we had Fred. So anytime something weird like that happened, we said, Fred's here. And we just said, have a seat, Fred. Come on in, do what you gotta do, go away. Then when we moved to another house, things were still happening. And my mom's like, well, there's no way Fred came with us. We'll call him Marvin.
Yeah.
You asked me, we named him Marvin. And it was like, I just grew up with that kind of thing, so it didn't bother me. Plus, here's another weird thing about me. I'm just sharing all my weirdness.
Yeah.
My dad, my stepdad, his brothers worked in a cemetery. They were the ones that dug the graves and cleaned the graves, and they were the go-to people. So we used to go and visit, and at the cemetery. And they had kids. We had, there was a bunch. We used to play hide and go seek around the tombstones.
Right.
And we would sit and like walk around and look at the tombstones and like pick a name and be like, Joe Smith. Who was Joe Smith? Let's see. He was born in 1902. So he doesn't know where the car is. So if he was here today, we would make stories up about these people.
Gotcha.
We made these people human. And it was like, it was nothing to us. And this is the second time of me living across from a cemetery.
Oh.
This is not the first time. In Maryland, I lived right across the street from a cemetery. And that one was really old. We're talking like turn of the century old
Mm-hmm.
tombstone with the old wrought iron fence around it. Like people were
Oh,
dying to get out of there
gotcha.
so they put a fence up. But this one doesn't have a fence across the street from me. So they're staying where they need to.
Gotcha.
They can roam free. I don't care. But there are times like I have been spooked. When I moved into one of the apartments of my own, we were bringing things in the house. It was a 3-bedroom apartment. And in the one closet, which was the spare room, I had put games up on the top shelf of the closet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the closet, and now it's not a big closet, it's your standard closet, but there's room enough to stand between you and the shelf
Mm-hmm.
and close the door. Well, I'm in there putting games up on the shelf, and the door closed on me.
Oh, geez.
Like completely closed on me. I was the only one in the house. There were no windows open.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, this is a little freaky. And then it just happened to be that I just put the Ouija board in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay. I asked my brother, were you in that room? He goes, no, I was out by the truck. I
Mm-hmm.
go, okay. I let it go. I never said anything. Then I put my Barbies. It had the moldings on the doors that
Mm-hmm.
were really thick that you could put stuff.
Right.
So I had put my Barbies all along the one door frame, the collectible ones.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, every other day, another one would fall. I'd put it back up. And then another one would fall. Then I'd put another one up, put another one fall up. So I was like, okay, we're playing games here. And I'm like, this is really weird. But again, I didn't freak out about it. I was like, okay, I got to find out more about this house.
Mm-hmm.
I went up to the attic to put some stuff up in the attic to store.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas decorations. You don't need them all the time.
Right, right.
They had a Virgin Mary statue up there. The ones that you usually see in the gardens.
Right.
But it was up in the attic.
That's odd.
And it was right when you came up the stairs. It was like right there staring at you.
That's a little creepy.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, can we like put a tarp over that or something?
Yeah, right. Let's move it to
Can
the
we turn it or
garden.
something? So walking across, because my stuff was all the way in the back, theirs was in the front. So I put my stuff in the back, and walking across, I always got this heebie-jeebie feeling, like somebody is watching me.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear it was that Mary. She was judging me. I know she was judging me. And I found out that the house was built in 1920.
Mm-hmm.
Not that old. This was 1996. I moved in.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out 5 people died
Oh, Jesus.
in that spare bedroom.
Oh, my God.
So
What was that, the sick room?
I guess so. Because I'm like, it was so weird. Because that room, no matter how much heat we had in the house, and every
Uh-huh.
room had a radiator, that room was always cold.
Yep.
It was always cold. No matter what we did, we put a heater in there and it was still cold. So I'm like, this is really weird. And I lived there for 7 years. Nothing bad ever happened, but it was like little things.
Mm-hmm.
Like a candle would flicker for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Music box would go off for no reason. And I just accepted it and was like, okay. I knew it had to be Charlie.
Charlie?
He was one of the guys that passed.
Gotcha.
Because he was the only one that died alone.
Oh.
So I know it had to be Charlie. And I think he was testing to see if it was okay he was there.
Oh.
That's how I look at it.
Right.
So see, I'm like you, I used to watch the haunting
Mhm.
shows, like the hotels that are haunted
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. I used to love watching that until I moved across the street from a cemetery.
Yeah, right. And it's like, no.
Now I'm kind of like, I don't think I want to do that.
I'll
I don't
just
wanna
watch
be inviting
cartoons.
them. I don't
Yeah.
want to invite them,
Yeah, right.
They might say, hey, that's my relative.
Don't be using your Ouija board either. Jeez.
Well, the funny thing is, I left that Ouija board there.
Gotcha.
When I moved out, because you can't destroy them
No, you can't.
and you can't throw them out.
Mm-mm.
I was always raised, you can't do that. It has to be given to someone. So I was like, my brother was taking over the apartment.
Here, honey, you can have it.
So I left it in the closet.
There you go.
I left it sandwiched between 2 other games that I knew his kids could play.
Gotcha. There you go.
And he calls me up when he finds it. He's like, why did you leave this here? I said, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, I can't take that with me. He's like,
No,
why not? I said,
we
no.
Ouija boards can be very. I mean, I was a teenager when I played with one, um, and it was a group of my friends, and we all it was like this close group, and we tried one, and I'll never forget. It was one summer. I don't know. I was junior or senior in high school. I don't remember. Maybe I was a freshman in college. I don't know. And I just remember sitting because, my parents had retired. They were much older, and so my friends would come over, and we had a swimming pool, so they would all go swimming. Like we'd be there all hours, like day and night. But it was a good group of kids, and I remember using the Ouija board. And I remember the first time trying it, I don't even know who the hell bought it. I don't know what the hell, I don't even know how it came about. And I just remember putting my fingers on it, and I just remember whipping, we would ask a question.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and I was like Philip, that's my ex-husband. He was in the circle of friends, and we weren't dating or anything, and he was like, because he was blaming the one guy Al who was using it with me, that oh, he's making it move. But I'm like, but we asked it a question, immediately, it was spell, there's no way that he could frame a response and then push, no. And so it was just
You can also tell when someone's pushing because you're just supposed to lay your fingers on it
right.
very lightly.
Yeah.
But you can feel there's felt on the bottom.
Right. Yes.
So if someone's pushing down and moving it, you're
Yeah,
gonna
you
feel
would
it
know.
stutter.
And I'll never forget. And we did that for, I mean, it was probably a couple weeks, maybe it was the whole summer. I don't know. But then I just remember being I went to I had my tarot cards read, and since then I do my own tarot cards now.
I want to learn how to do that. I need a reading.
It's what's really, well, I can try. It's kind of cool because even if you don't believe in the idea of the tarot, you can just it's a good way to make you think about your problems differently. And so it's nice too. So people who are like, oh, this is all magic, hocus pocus, and it's well, I think it's whatever you put into it. It's your interpretation. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
anywho, so I remember going, and I remember the woman telling me, she's like, you have a cloud around you, something's not right, and and I'm just like, well, I said, my friends and I have a Ouija board, and she was like, what? She's like, no, no. Oh, she lost her shit. She was like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, oh, wow. Because she just reacted so naturally. I was like, ah. So I don't know. I think I gave it to somebody. I don't know. I know it was no longer in my possession. And then I don't know, a couple weeks later, there's a bunch of us. We always hung out. And we went we'd go to Scranton. We'd go hang out at the mall or whatever. And we went into a Toys R Us. And we're walking down the board game aisle. We were oh, let's find something we can all play. And there was Ouija boards there. And I'm like, oh my. I'm like, yep, no, we're not doing that. And we started to walk away. There was no one in the aisle right there. And nobody had touched the Ouija boards. Nobody had touched any of that stuff. And one fell out on the floor. And I turned back because I heard a thunk. And I'm like, okay. So I went back. I'm because I'm a good person. And I picked up and I put it back on the shelf. Started to walk away. It fell again. I'm and then we're all fuck. We all got we ran out. Just nope.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I have a healthy respect for I'm not afraid. And you're talking about your experience in that house, and I used to work for I was a waitress slash hostess slash bartender at the French Manor in Sterling, Pennsylvania. And it was, I never get the guy right. It's not Frank Lloyd Wright, but there's another very, very famous architect who created this place. It is gorgeous. It's on top of Huckleberry Mountain. The views are amazing. The food is, it's a really cool place. But one night, I was the hostess, and my friend Tara was a waitress, and the kitchen had stopped and cleaned up, and they were gone. And so it was just Tara and myself, and oh no, I lied. It was the dishwasher was still there. And so, I was counting the box or doing whatever, and Tara's like, hey, do you mind if I leave? It was a little bit early night. There wasn't very many guests. There was nobody staying in the main inn. There was another building up the hill, and people were there, but nobody was in the main inn. I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead. I'll clean up. Because all I had to do was finish setting 2 tables and quick run the vacuum cleaner, and that was it. And so, but before she left, we're both in the dining room, and we hear a crash in the kitchen. And the dishwasher at that point had left. And we looked at each other what the fuck was that? And so we go back into the kitchen, and one of the milk pitchers, the little pitchers for cream, had fallen and broken on the floor. And I'm like, how the fuck did it land there? Because we always put them on this one, like, hutch, like basically on one wall. And it was in front of the ice maker, which was a good 5 feet away. And I'm like, if it had like fallen off from like the vibrations or something, like because the dishwashing machine was on the other side, it still would have had to like fall and roll and then break. It didn't break right in front of like where it could have fallen. Like it broke like literally like 5 feet away. And we're like, huh. And I'm like, well, maybe someone put it on the ice machine because we had trays up there. I'm like, maybe it just. We're trying to explain it away. Like whatever. Okay. And then so Tara left, and I'm like finishing up, and so like I go to the far end of the dining room. There's two massive fireplaces, one on each end of the dining room, and I go to the end of the dining room, to set the one table, and I mean I'm like, and I'm like, that feeling, like where like your
Being
whole,
watched.
yes, and like my skin is tingling, my neck is going crazy, and just talking about my scalp's tingling. Like this happens every time I talk about the story, and I'm like, okay, calm down. I'm like, you're a fucking adult. Stop acting like an idiot. And so like I sat down, I needed like some glasses. I set everything down and like I walked away and I felt immediately better. I'm like, okay. And so I go and I get the glasses and I come back and I'm getting that same creepy feeling again. I'm like, all right, stop it. Like, just stop it. Like I'm trying to like argue with myself. I finished setting the two tables and then I had to go use the vacuum cleaner. And I'm at the end of the again and I'm like freaking out again. I'm like, okay, I got to stop this. And so like it got worse each time. Like it was like building. Like I felt like there was going to be a scream coming out of me. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And what I forgot to say was, is my first day there, which was months before that, they sent me upstairs to this little closet, linen closet, to get something. And I went up there and there's a tiny little padlock and it was, locked. And I even pulled on it to test it. I'm like, I need the key. And they're like, it's locked? It's never locked. And they dug around in the cash box until they could find the key. And like, here. And I went back upstairs and it was unlocked and turned, because it was like a padlock. So I was like, someone's fucking with me. And that's all I thought, right? But now I'm thinking about that. And now, like, as my job as the hostess, it's to take the money box, count everything, and bring it down to the Sterling and the sister end for the night manager, who happened to be Johnny, my boyfriend. But I had to go downstairs in the basement into the supply area, which was like all stone, like almost like a dirt floor, to turn off all the lights. And the one light was pretty far back. And I'm like, I go downstairs, and like I'm like almost hyperventilating, and I'm like. And I'm on the phone with the night manager, Johnny, down at the other end. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't. And I ran back up the fucking steps. I grabbed the entire box. I was supposed to just take the cash. I ran out the fucking door into my car and like went down to the stair. Like and you know what? And I found out that the architect who had, so this was his house, he had died in his bedroom in the house, and that bedroom was at that far end of the dining room. That was one of the rooms. I'm like, I'm telling you, I never had, I didn't know that to begin with. I didn't know anyone had died there, and it was not supposed to be haunted or anything. I never heard any stories about it, but holy shit. Like, and I have no explanation for that. I'm usually a fairly calm, cool, and collected person. I mean, and I don't let my imagination go crazy with shit like that, but there was something. And so I definitely believe that there are, spirits out there that you can contact or are watching you or whatever. Like I definitely, and it's so funny because I remember Johnny always telling me, because he was much older than me, and he has passed away. It was after we broke up, and I found out much later that he died. And he had always used to say to me, he goes, when I die, he goes, I'm going to come back and haunt you. I'm always going to be there. I'm always going to be there. And I'm like, and I think about that. I'm like, I bet you are. So it's interesting. Like I've never had any like terrible experiences. I mean, that was creepy and scary, but like nothing happened to me, but like there's some unexplainable things, I'm not just talking about my like,
getting pushed in that closet was a little freaky for me.
yeah. So
that was probably the only time that I really got freaked out by that. Because I just moved there, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. Yeah.
But I mean, there's things that happen even now. I mean, I have one music box that was my mom's. Every once in a while, when I'm having a really tough time of things, and I'm just want my mommy.
Yeah.
No matter how old you are,
no.
at the time when you want your mommy.
I felt that way just about 2 weeks ago.
And every once in a while, that music box will just go ding, 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 just a couple notes.
Right.
That music box is on top of my china cabinet. And I have not wound that thing since I
Mm-hmm.
put it up there. So for it to go tink 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 is a
Right.
little coincidental in my opinion.
I would love some kind of little show like that from my mom or my dad. That would be amazing.
It's it's very rare that it happens. And I mean, I'm usually like way down. That's when like I'm at my darkest.
Yeah.
Um, but there's different signs that people give you.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sean hasn't been gone that long. Oh my goodness. Um, but there's been times when, Kathleen's doing something like on stage and I'll just get this rush over me.
Hmm.
And I mean, especially the first time she performed, it was literally right after 1 month after he passed.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had to believe that he was there backstage with her.
Right.
And I was surrounded by friends. I had about 10 people around me.
Right.
And I was fine. Everything was good. Watching the show, watching the performances, and everything's good. And then it was like Kathleen's turn. And all of a sudden, there was just this like heat wave that just hit me from head to toe.
Hmm.
And then it went icy cold. And I was like, okay,
Hmm.
it's proof,
Yeah.
and it's really, there's signs, you just have to feel them.
Right.
And you have to know and accept that there are signs.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be someone that's gone. It's like you can think of someone.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do you think of someone and you're like, I really should reach out? And then all of a sudden, there's something on Facebook or
Yeah.
they reach out to
Yes.
you.
Yes. It's like a
It's
sixth
like
sense. Yeah.
so many times, like when I send weird memes to people or just like little GIFs or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's only because, okay, that person popped in my head right now. I need to send something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like a sixth sense kind of thing that it's like,
I think it's an empathy too, like an empathic person, like, and I definitely believe in that. Like you can pick up, and it doesn't matter if the person's close or not. Like you can pick up if you're close to the person, you can kind of just know,
yeah.
and
It's like my one friend, Allie. She stresses out about stressing out.
that
But we
sounds
have
like
this
my
thing,
friend Allie. Wow, must be the name.
must be. But we have this thing with squirrels. Don't ask it. That's a story for another time. But that'll be my next animal story. Stay tuned.
All right.
But we have this thing with squirrels. So there's times when it's like I'm down or she's down or whatever, and next thing you know, one of us is sending the other one a squirrel picture. You know, we I think I have every GIF of a squirrel known to man,
Kevin would
and
love
we
that.
just send it. And the other day, I sent one to her, and she goes, "I needed that,"
Oh.
and I was like, "Good, okay." Or like I send something to you, and you're like, "That's so today,"
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things where it's like it's random. I just do it.
Right.
And it probably pisses some people off because I probably do it way too many times. But I'm a
Yeah.
texter and I'm addicted to texting. I need a texting anonymous.
TA. Wait, that's an ass. Never mind. Okay. And we've come full circle. You're welcome.
Oh, we went from religion to dildos to everything.
Yep. The paranormal.
The douches.
Ah. This was a great show tonight. I like this. I love talking about stuff like this, like, and without being afraid of like pissing someone off. Like, I mean, listeners, listen, if you're listening, you should just know, like, whatever. But like, it's nice to be able to talk to someone like you who, who has similar experiences and
Blame
things
me.
like that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to blame you always, but,
My fault. It's all good. I
yeah.
got broad shoulders.
There you go. But like I love talking about stuff like that. And I didn't know this about you, but the whole paranormal thing. So that's cool. Like, see, we have other things in common too. That's really, really neat. Yeah.
It's how I was raised. It was like, if there's ghosts, they're ghosts. Leave them alone, they'll leave you alone.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Or you're nice to them, they'll be nice to you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, would you like to have the final word, my love?
The final word is my daughter is trying to mimic something to me, and I cannot understand what she's trying to say.
Well, then we must leave. We're already overtime anyhow. And so then you can ask her, what is your problem?
What do you want to know?
Dad messes with me.
Oh, Dad messes with you?
Yeah, all of a sudden, like I just lay in my bed normally, and I have his dress uniform hat from the fire department hanging up on the wall by my door, and all of a sudden it'll just fall. And I've told Sam about this, my older cousin, and she's like, "That's gotta be your dad because he messes with their house too."
Yeah.
I
Randomly
definitely agree.
opens and closes doors.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah, so my
awesome.
daughter even believes in paranormal. See,
There
we
you
brought
go.
her into it.
There we go.
Like I said though, I think it's cool, especially when it's something like, my music box or her hat from her dad,
Right. Yeah.
that it's like they're still thinking of us too.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they always say, they're watching from above,
Yep.
and it's like, really, are they?
Yeah.
And I know I've done some things, and it's like something will fall, and I'm like, okay, mom, I know.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
They're like, I know, dad. The worst is my wallet, my purse.
Uh-huh.
If my purse hits the floor when I'm having financial problems, which it will randomly do sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
I'll know, okay, that's my dad. He's telling me there's an answer.
That's awesome.
I have to find it.
That's
Because my
awesome.
dad was my finance advisor.
Yeah, same with me. My dad was the
No.
best.
So if it's a financial thing or I'm like stuck, I mean, there's been times when I'm like rubbing two pennies together, wishing to pay for like ramen.
Right.
And all of a sudden, a check will come in the mail or a
Mm-hmm.
deposit will be made, or like all of a sudden money just shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the best time out of nowhere.
That's awesome.
And it's like, thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe the government sent it to me, but I know it was you.
Yeah. That's
So,
awesome.
yeah. So the final word is believe or don't believe, just know that spirits are there. And if you're nice to them, they'll be nice to you. And if
Yeah.
they're not nice to you, burn your sage, put out crystals, and have a priest come to your house.
Yep.
I don't know what else to tell.
Clear the air. All right. Well, awesome, awesome, awesome night. And we'll be back next week, same time, same bat channel. And look forward to seeing, I guess. We will look forward to you listening to us. There we go.
Yeah, you
Again
won't
next
see us.
week.
I'm sorry. There's no video on this end.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that, but I'm not really feeling that. I don't know how you feel about it.
I would scare people.
Well,
There, we can do a haunted. I'll scare them. See that?
oh, we could dress up. We could like do a like crazy like
Mask type things.
We'll do one for Halloween, and we can like do spooky makeup or something. Then nobody will really know. There we go. Perfect.
We could dress like our normal selves.
There we go. Right. All right. Thanks all for listening, and I hope you all have a great night. And Kit, have a great night, and give my love to KJ.
Thanks, Carrie.
I love her.
I do too. I think I'll keep her.
Yeah,
I'll
she's a
print her
keeper. All right. Have a great
Night,
night, all.
VOP. He had Krusty's little walk.